make you the co-host. Okay, good now. I can see Andrew is here. Good morning, Andrew.
Hello.
Bella's coming. Morning. Morning, everyone. We'll just give it another couple of minutes as we wait for more people to join.
Sounds good.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jingwen, the project coordinator with Digital Nova Scotia. Welcome to part 2 of the Social Media Management Program's webinar. Wordcraft, Tourism Nova Scotia, and Digital Nova Scotia developed part 2 of this program. Ingrid Deon from Wordcraft will give today's presentation. Ingrid is the CEO of Wordcraft, a social media marketing agency headquartered in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Ingrid started her career as a journalist, and later she switched to social media when she got an opportunity to work at a digital marketing agency, and later she started Wordcraft in 2019. She specializes in organic social media strategy, content creation, and community management. She works with both large and small business such as Nestle Canada, Manulife Bank, Kraft Heinz Canada, the Red Cap restaurants and motel in West Pubnico, Nova Scotia, and the opulent Alpaca in Inverness, Nova Scotia. That a difficult name for to me. And
you did a great job.
Thanks. And Wordcraft just finished Halifax Seaport Beer Fest. And during today's session, we encourage you to post any questions in the Q&A box below, and this session will be recorded and uploaded to the Digiport website. Okay, I will hand it over to Ingrid.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jingwen.
No problem.
Thanks for attempting all of those names.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here again. Excited to talk about social media. I always am excited to talk about social media. So I'm excited to talk about social media again. And thanks to Digiport and Digital Nova Scotia, Tourism Nova Scotia, for having me again. And before I start, I just want to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And I want to acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land. All right, so today we're going to chat about creating a social media content plan. So last week, if you were here, we talked about where to post and when to post and what to post. So today we're going to put it all together into how to plan your content. So we at WordCraft, we plan social media content for about 16 different clients on a regular basis. We just had our September content planning meeting for all of our clients yesterday. So my team gets together, we plan out what we're going to post about for all of the clients, and then we put everything into content plans. So I have all kinds of tips and tricks on how to do this efficiently and effectively. And so I'm going to share a bit of that wisdom. And Jingwen also sent out a template or a document that has different templates for creating content pillars, which is one of the main ways that we plan social media content. So that is the first thing that I'm going to chat about, is creating the content plan. And we start with the content pillars. So pillars, what are they? So they're essentially buckets or themes or categories that all of your social media content should fit into. Usually you have, some of my clients have 4 different pillars, some of them have 7, usually somewhere in between 4 and 7, although that's, again, not written in stone. But they're different categories for all the different types of posts that you could possibly create for your company. Sorry about that. So you can brainstorm these pillars. We'll talk about how to do that. And if you come up with a poster or a post idea that doesn't really fit into any of your pillars, then maybe it's time to evaluate, like, is that post idea on brand? Does it fit within my brand? Is it relevant to my audience, to my target audience? It kind of helps you stay on brand, because if you have these certain categories that you want to hit and post on social media, then it really helps you focus and helps you create a content plan a lot easier. So they help you stay organized, they help keep you on brand. So I'm going to go through a bunch of different examples of content pillars that I've created for some different clients that I've worked with. So this is a series of content pillars. There's just 4, as you can see, that we did for a client who was doing Pilates and yoga instruction for older women. So she has a pillar that's called About Me. And so in that pillar, all of the posts that are about her, she's the instructor, maybe how she got started, what's a day in her life like, what's her background, her educational background, what are her favorite types of exercises to do, that kind of stuff, sort of like, about the person behind the business. Most businesses will have some sort of pillar that's like our story, or about us, or about me if it's a personal brand. And that's a very important pillar. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but a lot of business owners don't necessarily want to talk about themselves on social media. However, those posts are some of the highest performing posts that you will post on social media, because people love seeing people that they know on social media. They love connecting with people. That's what social media is all about. And so when they see, whoever it is, Kate, who owns such and such a business, come up in their feed, you get really excited, because you're like, oh, I know Kate, that's a great picture of her, and you like it, or you leave a comment, or you share it. So very important to have that type of pillar. And you'll see as I go through different examples, I'm pretty sure they all have some sort of about us, our story, something like that pillar. All right, then we move on to another pillar. This is the workshops. So this is her product, essentially. Her product is a service, workshops that she offers about Pilates, about yoga instruction. So that's her product pillar. So all about, you know, what time the workshops are, what you can expect when you work with her, what different kinds of workshops that she offers, who are they for, all of that stuff that fits into this pillar. And usually all businesses, services, products, whatever, you will have some sort of pillar for your product or service. You might have more than one pillar depending on how you sort of build it out, but one pillar that's about, you know, what you offer, what you sell to people. Then she has a pillar for tips. So this is pretty self-explanatory. It's all of the different tips that she can offer. Maybe it's things that you can do at home, movements that you can do at home, tips for, you know, if you have a sore back, here are some different tips on how to remedy that. You know, all of the different tips that she can offer. And this is another great pillar that especially a lot of service-based businesses can offer, because a lot of us have a whole bunch of knowledge in our brains, and that knowledge is very relevant to our ideal customer. So for my business, I share a lot of tips because that's what people want from me, just like I'm doing in this webinar. This is all about me sharing all of the tips that I know. So that's a huge part of my social media content, is sharing tips, sharing knowledge, sharing my zone of genius. And so, you know, you might consider that as a pillar for your business. And then she has another pillar that's called user generated. So this is when someone posts about your business. So a lot of restaurants, hotels, museums, whatever, those types of things, you'll have a lot of people who are visiting your establishment and they're taking photos and they're posting them on social media and they're tagging you. So all of those posts fall into the pillar of user generated content. So all you really have to do is you can share it. You can, on Twitter, you can retweet it. On Instagram, you can share it to your stories. On Facebook, you can just plain old share it. On LinkedIn, you can share it. So yeah, so if someone creates content about your business or organization, definitely share it. And that those types of posts are not necessarily posts you can plan because you don't know when they're going to happen. But it is content that you're posting, so it falls into a pillar. So user generated content. And I suspect a lot of you who are attending today will have a user generated content pillar that you can now put into your content planning process. All right, we're gonna look at a few different lists of content pillars from different clients that I've worked with, just to sort of see what there is, what, you know, get some different ideas on, you know, what kinds of pillars you should be maybe using for your business. And the template that Jingwen sent out has this sort of design with the different circles, so you can put your different pillars in there. So this is a series of pillars that I did for a real estate agent. So again, you can see he has an about me pillar. So that is, you know, we've already talked about that. That's all the things about him in particular, his background, what makes him happy, what excites him, his favorite parts of the business, milestones and awards and news and those types of things. Like if he's mentioned in the media, that goes into the about me pillar. Then he has a pillar called in the community. So he's very committed to participating in community events and helping to promote local businesses in his area, local businesses and organizations. So every month he was doing a post about a different business or organization in his area of expertise, which was Halifax West. So he would highlight a different local business, and then if he was participating in any community events, that would fall into that pillar as well. So if being an active community member is really important to you and to your business, then you might have a pillar about, you know, your charitable endeavors and things that are going on in your community. It could be important to you, maybe it's not, but there's another idea for a pillar. He also has a pillar for market updates. So this is, you know, the real estate market, different stats and facts and news just about the market in general. So those all fall into that pillar. And now on a weekly basis, he does a short video talking about the different market updates from the last week. Then of course his product, which is his listings and, you know, homes that he sold, and the client journey. So that falls into a pillar called listings and client journey. So what is it like when you go through a real estate agent to purchase a home? What's it like when you list your home? What are the listings that he has that are available? What are the listings that have been sold? That's a big pillar. So all of those fall into that pillar. And, you know, some of those can't be planned, like the new listings and the sold listings, those just happen and you sort of have to post about those on the fly. But the ones about the client journey, those are easy to schedule. So you could be sharing different tips on, you know, how to get your home ready for putting it on the market, or tips for first-time home buyers. What should they expect? What should they be aware of? You know, a lot of content falls into that pillar. And then his final pillar is testimonials. So this is somewhat like the user-generated content, except it's written testimonials. So if someone leaves him a Google review or someone leaves a Facebook review, he can then just put that. You can get a template in Canva or whatever design tool that you use, but Canva is really easy to use for creating design templates. In fact, I use Canva to create my my presentations because it's super easy. So you can use Canva, and there are all kinds of templates for testimonials. If you just search testimonial, you'll see all kinds of different templates. So you can just put the text of the testimonial, maybe a photo of the person. So this would be, you know, someone who purchased a house through him. He was their real estate agent and he was phenomenal at his job and they had a really good experience. And so they've left a testimonial. And that really helps your ideal customer put themselves in the shoes of a happy client. So if you can post testimonials, people who have really enjoyed coming to your organization, your business, when other people read that, they say, oh, someone had a really great experience at such and such a resort or restaurant or brewery or whatever it is. And now I want to go there. So they're really good. It's a really good sales tool. It's yeah, I mean, they're real comments from real people. If you have a photo of them, it's even better because then it even seems more real. So definitely try to get testimonials, and you can ask people, you know, when they leave your establishment, leave us a review on TripAdvisor, leave us a review on Google. Some people have a QR code or something on their business card or on their leaflets where people can just use their phone and get the link to your Google or your TripAdvisor or your Yelp or your Facebook page or whatever it is, wherever you want to gather those reviews and those testimonials. And then that is amazing content that you can just post anytime. So I'll go through one more, and this one is for restaurant and motel that we work with. So this was, of course, they have the Our Story, which is the same as About Us or About Me. So for them, it's our story. Under that pillar, they highlight not only the, about their establishment, but about the people there, the different people who work in the kitchen, the people who are serving in the restaurant, the people who are cleaning the rooms. Like I said, any time you post about people behind the business really performs well. So it's a really important pillar. And then their biggest pillar is the food. So this is their main product. The restaurant is the most active part of their business. So the food is the biggest pillar. So this is not only just posting about the different items on the menu, but different specials, ways you can customize food, like hidden menu type posts. That's most of what they post, and they ask a lot of questions. Like how far would you drive for a certain menu item that's really popular, or what's your favorite type of food to put such and such of sauce with, your favorite sauce that we offer. We ask a lot of questions to try to spur a lot of engagement and get people really excited about the food. And another thing that we do with them is, and this goes with the when to post that we talked about last week, we tend to post for this client, we tend to post just before lunchtime or just before supper time. So when people are starting to think about what they're going to have for lunch or what they're going to have for supper, that's when we make sure we post. So if you own a place that serves food, think of that, when do you want people, when are people more likely to be tempted by what you're posting? And then their other product is their motel. So they also offer accommodations. So this is just posts about what the accommodations look like, what's included, what does it feel like when you're staying there, what does the view look like, how comfy are the beds, what are the linens like, all of that kind of stuff fits into the motel. If there's any specials, if there's anything going on, like if there's a special event in your community, maybe a month before that special event, you make a post saying, hey, if you're coming for such and such, make sure you book your room with us. Just make people feel like they're getting a very luxurious experience when they book with you. Then we had another pillar for 75 years. Their establishment has been around, I think now it's more than 75 years because we did this strategy a year or two ago. But we did a lot of sharing old photos. If your business has been around, whether you've owned it for many years or if it's just been in the community for many years, we find that old photos perform exceptionally well. People love a little bit of nostalgia. So every time we post an old photo of the restaurant from any time within the last 75 years, those perform really well. They share a lot of memories, and you can ask questions and get people to share their favorite memories. So that's another really popular pillar. And then we already talked about user generated, but that's what the last pillar is. So people will post a lot when they're in the restaurant. They'll post photos of the food, and then we can repost those as user generated content. Oh, I have one more series of content pillars, and this is just to show that not all of the clients have 4 or 5 pillars. Some of them have 7. So this is a client that I worked with that was a kombucha company. And so they have 7 pillars. So they have a lot of different things that they post about, a lot of variety. So the first one, our story. I don't think I need to talk about that anymore. And the second one is product. So product-based company. So all about the kombucha, how it's made, product benefits, different flavors, asking people their opinion about different product innovations, where it's available, where you can buy it, all of that kind of stuff. And then not only is there a product pillar, but there's also a product usage pillar. So this is where, recipes would fall into, how you can prepare it, how you can serve it, videos showing, making cocktails with kombucha. So how you're using the product. And so you could combine those both into one pillar, but we decided to just separate them into two different pillars just because we felt they were quite different for this client in particular. So they have the product pillar and then the product usage. And then the promotions pillar, it's for different sales promotions that are going on or partnerships with other like-minded brands, contests, those types of things fit into the promotions pillar. Then they also have an in the community pillar, just sort of like the real estate agent. They do a lot of, donating a certain portion of their sales to different charitable causes. They're out in the community doing different, like selling their kombucha in their van or going to different events. So all of those fall into the in the community pillar. And then they have a show personality pillar. So this was more to sort of some fun stuff like different memes and jumping on different trends, posting, GIFs that are on trend, different games. That it was kind of a pillar for doing a whole bunch of fun stuff. So we did some things like, I don't know, sometimes you'll see on social media, they'll have, it looks kind of like a word search that you would see in like the newspaper or something. And it says, the first 3 words that you see are your fortune for 2022 or something like that. So we did something like that had, different kombucha flavors and different words to do with kombucha and, so a lot of fun stuff there that fall into that pillar. And then testimonials. And again, we've already talked about that, but user generated content, testimonials, all of that falls into that pillar. All right, so any questions about content pillars? And are you thinking about different content pillars that are applicable to your business or organization? If you have any ideas about pillars that maybe we haven't talked about, I mean, there can be as many pillars as you want. Feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'm trying to think of some others, but we've done so many different strategies for companies. And there are so many different pillars. Like we've done some for some companies that are, I guess, doing a lot of scientific research or clinical trials. And so they have a pillar for the different, clinical trials that are going on and the scientific research that's happening. We've also worked with companies that have a pillar for, the environment, the ecology, the environmentally friendliness that they're doing. So pillar that you could
Sorry, everyone. I believe Ingrid's internet is not unstable right now. We can just wait for several more minutes. Okay, that's great.
My
back.
just dropped.
It's okay.
There. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so yes, so when we're talking about content pillars, when we build out the different content pillars for a social media strategy, we do this sort of graphic with all the different content pillars, and then we have a series of pages in the strategy where we go through each content pillar and we list the different posts that fall into that content pillar. So this is sort of like I was doing when I was explaining the different content pillars. But we'll look at a few of those, and always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in at any time. I'm happy to be interrupted and take some questions. So we talked about me, about us, our story, whatever you want to call this type of pillar, but this one was for the person I mentioned who was a Pilates instructor. So these were the different posts that we laid out for her for posts that would fall into that pillar. So what's she up to? Sort of what's a day in her life? What are her qualifications? Why yoga and Pilates are important to her? Behind the scenes posts of planning a class, planning a workshop, her favorite stretches, poses, and workshops. She lives in a very beautiful part of Nova Scotia, so scenic shots from her surroundings. She also does some videos with some personal chats and thoughts, and then anniversaries, milestones, awards. All of those types of posts fall into about me or about us or our story. So hopefully this will help you brainstorm some of the posts that fall into the different pillars that you've hopefully been thinking about for your business or organization. So this is a pillar for product. This is for a company that we work with that creates a sea cucumber capsule. So showcasing the product itself, just photos of the product, announcing any new product releases, information about sea cucumbers. So what the heck are they and why should people even consume them? Being transparent about the manufacturing process, what goes on behind the scenes, where does the product come from, like where is it fished, where is it harvested sustainably? Yes, it is wild harvested. You know, it comes from Nova Scotia. It's caught by local fishermen, and then it's processed locally, and then it's encapsulated. So all of that kind of what happens, like how is this even made? And that's a great pillar. That's a great post idea for video if you can get behind the scenes and take some video. People love to take a little peek behind the curtain and see what's going on. Engaging customers in product innovation, so make them feel part of the decision. Ask, do they prefer this product idea or this product idea? Or do they have any suggestions on ways that you can improve the product? Asking for people's feedback makes them feel part of your business and makes them feel like they're invested in your business. And then it helps to create more loyal fans of your business. And educating people about sea cucumbers and their benefits, like did you know type of posts, fun facts, all of that stuff. Why should consumers choose this product? What are the health benefits? There's a lot of different post ideas that can fall under just the product pillar there. This is another pillar that we talked about, tips and resources. This was for an organization that helps business owners and entrepreneurs. So all kinds of different tips that they can share, productivity tips, financial tips, management tips, marketing tips, mental health tips, many different types of tips. And if you, if there's, you know, if you're selling a service, then I'm sure you have all kinds of different tips that you can share that are in your brain that just need a place to go, and people will find them super helpful. And the types of posts that are sharing educational content in an entertaining way, those tend to really perform well because people will see them and they'll see that it's valuable and it's something that they learned something from, and maybe they didn't know it before, and they're more likely to share that content. And every time you get a share, you reach more people. So it improves your reach organically without spending any money. So definitely think about if there are tips that you can share. That's a great kind of content to definitely share. Useful templates and tools. If you use a certain tool and you can help, you can talk about it, and hopefully people will use it and they'll find that super helpful. Third-party blog posts, news articles, those perform well, particularly on Twitter, as we talked about last week. Virtual seminars, webinars, workshops, those types of things. So this is sort of a pillar that would be relevant to like Digiport or Digital Nova Scotia. All right, so those are a few pillars and how we build out the different types of posts. And if you have the template that we talked about earlier, this is what it should look like. So you have a bunch of places to put your pillars, and I've got some examples there. And then we also talk about adding some weight to the pillars. So you might have noticed that as we went through these, I have a little percentage after each of the pillars. So when we look at the different pillars, like here, so usually I would have the list of pillars here and I would put a percentage under each one, depending on the importance of that pillar to your business and to your goals for social media. Like if one of your goals is to sell more products, then your product pillar is probably one of your most heavily weighted pillars. Or if your goal is to get more engagement, more followers, more likes, comments, and shares, then maybe you're more heavily weighting the different tips that you're sharing, or the sort of the behind the scenes of your business to try and create to get more reach and more likes. It depends on what your goals are for social media, and the weights are not necessarily written in stone, but they help you when you're planning your content, when you're looking at a calendar for the month, and if you're planning ahead. I know not everyone can plan a month ahead, but even if you can do a skeleton of your month, And then you know that you need maybe 50% of your posts have to be about your product or your service. So maybe it's about the food in your restaurant, maybe it's about the events for your organization, maybe that's the most important pillar. So, and if you've decided that you're posting maybe twice a week, then roughly 4 of your posts need to be about your events or whatever it is that's the most important pillar to your organization or business. And then the other pillars sort of fill in the rest. So that's why I usually add a weight. It isn't written in stone. It's just a guideline to sort of show you how many of your posts in a certain month should be posts of a certain pillar, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So add weight to each of the pillars and determine how often you'll post. And so we sort of talked about this a bit last week with the when to post, but you should only post as many times as you are able to, as many times as it doesn't make you crazy. If you can manage 2 posts a week and that's manageable, then that's a good number to stick to. The key is to stay consistent, and if you've decided to post twice a week, then keep posting twice a week. So you'll determine how often to post. You'll determine the best time to post, and we talked about this again last week, but if you weren't here, you can find in your insights, you can find out when your audience is online. Most people, their audiences are online when they're awake, so during daylight hours. And sometimes there are peaks, at lunchtime or in the evening, usually when people aren't working. But again, it's different for everyone, so check your insights to find out. And maybe if you are a restaurant, maybe right before lunch or right before dinner is maybe the best time for you to post, because you want to get people when they're hungry and when they're trying to decide what they're going to be eating. And determine where you'll post. So again, we talked about this last week, but which social media platforms, where can you find your ideal audience? And always keep your customer in mind. So always keep that ideal customer in mind. What content is relevant to them? What do they want from you? What will help sell your service, product, whatever it is that you offer, event. So we've looked at the different content pillars. We've talked about how you build out the different posts that fall under the content pillars. And now we're going to start planning the content. So like I said, we usually plan a month in advance, a month at a time. Again, I know that that's not necessarily doable for everyone, but it's a great idea if you can even just decide what pillars are going to be on, if you've decided you're going to post twice a week, then maybe you just put a note that on like August 2nd, I'm going to post about a post about us. So you put the pillar name, and then you figure out what the photo will be and what the text will be later. But we're just sort of trying to decide what we're going to post. So if you put the name of the pillar in some different squares on your calendar, and then you can build out the actual post later, maybe a week at a time. Maybe that's doable, but this sort of helps you stay organized. So we've decided we're posting, twice a week. 50% of our posts are going to be about our service, and then the rest of the posts will be the other pillars. So if you've built out a bunch of different ideas that fall under each pillar, it's really easy to just grab an idea. Okay, this post is going to be about the business, and we're going to do a post to highlight, Helen, who works in the kitchen. So this sort of helps you build out. And when you're looking at the calendar, I usually start by filling out the posts that are date specific. So if you're posting about an event, or you're posting, you want if you're planning September, maybe you want a first day of fall post. Pencil those in first, the ones that are date specific, because you can't necessarily move those around. And then the other ones you can build out around those, because those can move, they can be a bit more flexible. So that's how I start planning content. There are loads of free resources and content calendar templates online that you can find. Use whatever works for you. Maybe an actual calendar, and maybe doing it with a pencil, maybe that's what works best for you. Maybe there's a certain template that you can find online that works best for you. It doesn't matter, whatever works for you, whatever makes sense. We plan our content a couple different ways. So this is an example of a content plan that we did for a client. So we always have the date, we have the Facebook copy, the Instagram copy. This client just posts on Facebook and Instagram, and you can see we change it slightly for each platform, but it's essentially the same post. So on Facebook, we have a link. On Instagram, links don't work on regular Instagram posts. You can put a link in your stories, but you can't put a link in your posts. So we don't have the link, we just have the call to action to click the link in our bio. And then we have hashtags on Instagram, but no hashtags on Facebook. And that's because hashtags don't really perform on Facebook. So, and then we have our image. So this is the image that we'll be posting with this copy. And then we have any notes or the pillar name. This one I don't have the pillar name, but usually I do. So the note is where the file of the image is, but whatever notes. So that's how we build out a social media content plan. But you can do it in other ways. This is just, sort of what works for us. You can also use different tools. So we also use Agorapulse. There are many different social media management tools that you can use that can help you plan your content. So there are some like Hootsuite, which you might have heard of. We used to use Sprout Social. We don't use it anymore because it's quite pricey, very pricey. There's one called Buffer, there's one called Later. There are all kinds, and they can help you plan your content. So it's, this one, Agorapulse, which we use, it has the calendar, and we can just sort of click on a date and, oh, hang on, just need to refresh. About that. Here we are. So this is what our content calendar looks like. We can click on a date and schedule a post this way. So we just write the content, we add a photo, and it shows us what the post will look like, and then you can just schedule it at whatever time you want. Excuse me. So that's how we plan all of our content, and that's how we schedule it. But there are many different ways of doing this. This is just an example, but if you Google social media calendar template, you'll find all kinds of different, whoa. Yeah, okay. You'll find all kinds of different templates that you can choose from. This one I've seen used a lot. This one's through HubSpot. So again, it looks like it's kind of interesting. It looks like a calendar, and they have their different pillars, their posts that fall into each different pillar listed. Should have find a better picture of it, but you can see they have the different pillars up here in the corner, and they have like social media blog post, social media webinar. So they have the different types of posts that they're posting. So any kind of template that you can use whatever works for you. And if paper and pen works best for you, I have to admit, I use a lot of paper and pen when I'm planning content. So that's fine too. Not everything has to be super techy. All right, back to the presentation. So talking about scheduling posts. Like I mentioned, there's different scheduling tools that you can use, but you don't necessarily have to use a third-party tool. You can use, if you're posting on Facebook and Instagram, just use Meta or Facebook's publishing tool. So if you go to any of the pages that you manage, so if you're on the Facebook page that you manage, you can go into publishing tools here for Planner. And you can schedule all of your posts. So this is a great time saver. It's just create post here. You put in your text, you add your photo or your video, and you choose your social profile. So it's got your your Instagram account and your Facebook account. So if that's what you use, this is great. So you can look at your calendar, plan all your posts, get them scheduled, and then all you have to do is answer your comments, answer all of your comments, as we talked about last week, answer all of your messages. And anytime someone posts some user-generated content, so if they've posted something about your business or organization and tagged you in it, then you can repost that. So those are the only things that you need to worry about posting if you plan all of your content in advance. It's great. It's definitely a time saver. And if you're at all someone who likes to plan or someone who's really organized, then this might appeal to you and it might help you stay organized, stay on brand, and stay consistent. So one of the things that the algorithms really love is consistency and showing up consistently. So if you've decided you're posting twice a week or 3 times a week, then doing that consistently really helps the algorithm. And it also helps your audience because they know that you will show up consistently, and it keeps them engaged and it keeps your community growing, your online community. And that's really what social media is all about, is growing the community and keeping people engaged. So if anyone has any questions at all about planning social media content, or even if you have questions left over from last week about, where to post, when to post, what to post, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'm happy to answer many, many questions. I know we probably went through that really fast, but I'm here for all of your questions.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's great to know these pillars.
Yeah, it's really great because it really helps you stay organized, and I love organization.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily love home organization, but I love social media organization.
Yeah. And it's smart to put different percentage of weight on different content, like what percentage should write about your company or your product and yourself, or anything about tips.
Yeah, for sure. I see there is a question. Shelley asks, when building content pillars, is it helpful to post pillar subjects on the same day each week? Yeah, totally. So if you have if you're doing tips on a regular basis and you want to do a Tuesday tip or something like that, or like the restaurant that I was talking about that had been open for 75 years, they could do a throwback Thursday or something. It is kind of fun to do something every week, and that might help you stay organized because you know that every Tuesday you need a tip, or every Thursday you need an older photo. As Shelley says, Sundays seem to be great days to repurpose blogs. So if you're posting blog content to your website, then yeah, Sunday sounds good for, for repurposing blog content. I love that idea. It's great. Bella asks, how far ahead should you plan? And there's no rule for that. You know, like I mentioned, we plan a month in advance. So we've just been planning September, and usually around, you know, between the 10th and the 15th of the month, we usually start planning all of the posts for the next month. But we also do this professionally, and I don't expect everyone to do that. So even if you just want to plan a week in advance, maybe you set aside Sunday afternoon to sit down and plan all of your content for that week. So you can do that, or you can plan a month in advance like we do. I've even seen some brands that I've worked with want to plan a quarter in advance. So that's 3 months. To me, that's a little bit too much planning because things can change a lot in 3 months. So I've done it before, but I don't necessarily recommend it because, like I said, a lot can change. You have to be ready to pivot. And, you know, maybe you should always be ready to pivot, even if you're planning a month in advance. Like, make sure that for us on a weekly basis, we go through the posts that are scheduled for that week and make sure that they're still relevant and there's nothing that's going to sound overly gauche. But yeah, so if you're planning really far in advance, just make sure that you're ready to pivot and you're monitoring what is coming up and you're not forgetting about those posts that are scheduled. Just, you know, things can change, like a pandemic can happen, right? And then you don't want posts about, you know, going to the fair or the carnival or something when there's no carnival because a pandemic happened, right? So yeah, so I definitely recommend planning somewhat ahead, but there's also posts like user generated content that you can't plan. So there's a lot of off the cuff stuff that happens, some behind the scenes content. So always be ready to post stuff off the cuff as well as posts that are planned. I think there was something else I was going to say about planning ahead. Oh, if you know, I know that last year, when we were planning December content in November, we planned December and January just so some of the team members could take some time off at Christmas. So in those instances, like if you're expecting to take a vacation and you still want some of those posts to be scheduled and go out while you're away, then maybe you want to plan a little bit further ahead, just because you know that you're going to be away for 2 weeks or for a month or whatever it is, however long you can afford to take some time off. So that's another instance where you might want to plan a little bit further ahead if you're going to be away and you're not going to be able to post regularly. Hope that answered the question. Keep them coming if you have any more questions. I'd love to take your questions about planning content. I can also, so with this template that Jingwen has shared with all of the participants, so you've got, you know, your different pillars that you can fill in here and the weight, you can add the weight to the pillars. I've also got a whole bunch of different, you know, post ideas. And then I have space for you to, you know, write out the pillar, talk about what it is about, and what are some of the posts that fall into the pillars. So I have a bunch of different templates, pages for you to fill all of that stuff in. So this can help you, you know, if you're stuck and you're not sure what to post about, you can always refer back to this. And if you've made a bunch of lists when you were really, really inspired, you've made a bunch of lists of different posts that fall into each pillar. And then you think, oh, I need a pillar with some tips, or I need a pillar about the people behind the business. You can refer back to this and maybe you have an idea that you wrote down a while ago that you haven't used lately. Then you can go ahead and create post about that pillar. Any more questions? You have me for plenty of time. I think we booked until noon, so I went through those slides pretty quickly.
Yeah, and just a reminder, our next and the last webinar of this program is next Thursday, August 18th at 10 a.m.
Yes, and we'll be talking about tips for increasing engagement. So you'll know where you should post. Excuse me, you'll know where you should post. You'll know when you should post. You'll know what you should post. You'll know how to put it into a content calendar and plan and schedule your posts. And then we'll be talking about tips for increasing engagement. So organically, which is what I specialize in. I don't specialize in ads, paid ads. I just specialize in organic posts. So the content that you're posting about that you're not putting any ad spend behind, no campaigns. And then so we'll talk about how to get more engagement and grow your community and grow loyal fans who really want to engage with you on social media.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's fun. That's one of my favorite things to talk about.
So after today's session, if you still have questions, you can send us email or send Ingrid emails. We'll get it to you. And this time we'll make sure to get the recording uploaded and sent to all the participants so you can review.
Awesome.
So no one has questions.
I'll share the slides as well.
Okay, sure. Okay, that's great. Yeah, we can end it here today if no one has questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ingrid, and thank you all for your time. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks so much for attending.
Thank you. Have a great day.